Right, so welcome back to another Champions Journey episode in the Scrap the 9 to 5 Champions Guild, where I am joined today by two property investing heroes, Royce and Ella Turville. And I'm going to share a little bit of an overview of their journey so far to give you guys watching a sense of what they've done and also a sense of what we're going to go through today. And as with any Champions Journey episode, what we're basically doing here is giving you a behind the scenes insight into somebody else who has walked the path that you're maybe thinking about, and really give you a sense of what it takes to succeed on this path. Some of the challenges that can come up, some of the problems that you might face, but then ultimately what's the potential result that is possible to create, as these guys are a perfect example of that. So Royce and Ella, thank you very much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you both doing?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for having us. I'm really excited to run through this with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. And a quick overview of you guys for everyone watching. Please correct me if I get any of this wrong, if I've misunderstood at all. But a headline of your journey so far, I believe, is that you started in 2007 by buying your first buy-to-let property. And then in 2014, really began to take property investing a bit more seriously and were focused on building a portfolio. However, your method of investing back then was kind of save up a deposit and wait till you had a deposit, then buy a house, and then work your butts off, save up another deposit until you could then buy another house. And then in 2018, 2019, started learning about sophisticated investing strategies, which massively sped up your journey and has allowed you guys to both completely phase yourself out of working, so that all you do now is just buy more properties, build your portfolio, and you have that level of financial independence. Have I got that all right, first of all?
Spot on.
Well done.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Well, first question then is, I'd love to get a bit of a sense, guys, of where you were before you made the decision to start investing in property. Just paint a bit of a picture of your background, so to speak.
You go.
Me go? Okay. So I was, I guess, if you go right back to sort of the school days, I suppose, I was never really great with education. I was kind of okay with it, as in the school education side of things. Similar sort of story to a lot of people in property, really, like kind of just got through it and didn't really get it, and like I say, just got through it, got the grades because I had to get the grades, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was always doing stuff at school, like sort of little schemes, buying and selling stuff, so I always had a little bit of this in me.
So you're like an entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah, exactly. I was always like getting PlayStation discs and ripping them and all that kind of stuff. And that was my little sideshow to pay for my Vauxhall Corsa or whatever it was that I bought. So that's kind of where I came from. And then I just went into the world of work, really. I always liked fitness, but I didn't like the fact that with fitness you'd have to kind of like work weekends and silly shifts and all that sort of stuff. So that led me away from that path. And then I thought, what am I going to like here? I like the sound of an office job type thing, get the shirt and tie on, do my 9 till 5, and then everything else is mine, the weekend's mine, sort of thing. So yeah, I just got into the world of work, really, from there on in, and then corporate kind of jobs. And the stuff I fell into, because I never had any sort of official qualifications or degrees as such, was sales, as again, many other sort of people do, because it was, again, it was kind of like a role where you could go in, you could be sort of developed, and you could be educated on it and taught how to do it, and you could earn good money, and there was a lot of flexibility to it. So that's my pre-property days. Do you want to?
How do I follow that one? Ripping discs and things.
Oh, you'll find a way, Ella. You've got this.
Yeah.
All I've ever known is property. Right from finishing school, I went into interior design, and then from there I met one of Royce's friends. Actually just said that there was a negotiator job at a local estate agent at 19. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll give that a go. I like houses, let's see where we go. And it was addictive. I just carried on working my way up, whether it was in that estate agent or to another. So it went from being a trainee negotiator through to negotiator, office manager, senior valuer, sales manager, and then just continued to work my way up for years in estate agency. And then when the recession hit, so when I just sold Royce's first flat from the agent I worked in, then the recession hit and I was like, what am I going to do? So I decided to go self-employed doing the energy performance certificates, thinking, oh, it'll just be a stopgap. I'll find somewhere else, recruitment or something else to do. But it just went crazy because I did all my training in the worst time for property. And then by the time I was qualified, all the agents I'd previously worked for, sales and lettings, solicitors, all of them were using me. I was on their books. So from me just thinking, oh, I'll just do this for a little time, went crazy. And then I was doing that self-employed for a while, got my brother trained up to do it when I had a baby. And then when I came back off maternity, it was like, oh, okay, let's rethink what we do. So that's kind of where we went from buying more and more properties. It's it's what I've always known. So I've got the expertise in how to find the houses and so forth. So we kind of developed that, and that's where it all started.
So would you say then it wasn't so much that you had like a sort of pivotal moment in your life where everything changed and you were like, oh, enough is enough, we're going to find out a new way to earn an income? It was kind of like you guys were always, or Ella particularly, was always on this trajectory of property, and it became more of a natural progression to get into property investing. Is that fair to say?
I'd say that is, yeah. I'd say it's different for me. I would probably put myself down as like the driving force to sort of change things, because as you've sort of seen there, that Ella's like basically been her own boss for a lot longer than I have. As well as boss of the house.
I was thinking I wasn't going to say it.
I see the look on your face. I'm like, Dan, what are you going to say? Bless him.
Sorry, Ella.
I know my place. So yeah, I had like I suppose I got the drive in my belly because I was doing like the sort of the 40-50 hour week, driving all over the country, my job led me into going abroad, which is great and not great at the same time, because you spend your time away but you're getting to see other stuff. And I could just kind of see where it was going. It was great at first, you earn good money and you have a good lifestyle, but then it just becomes repetitive. And then there's just the more time I spent in work, the more time things frustrated me, because I just saw things going, that weren't right, and they were, it just wound me up. I was like, why are we doing these things? And you try to raise them with people and change them, it just never got anywhere. You're just like, this doesn't make sense. So you kind of get to that stage where, well, I'll just carry on plugging away. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to listen to me. I'll just pick up my paycheck and move on to the next one, sort of thing. So so that happened with me. And I'd also seen people that I'd worked with, like, just go, who were obviously way ahead of me coming up to retirement. I just looked at them and I just thought, I don't want that. Like, I could just see it happening for the next sort of 40 years. And I was like, that isn't happening. And then obviously we had Molly, our first child, and that sort of accelerated it within me, because I just saw the time that I wasn't available to be at home and away from home, and it just wound me up. And just not having that flexibility. There's so many just things that wound me up in employment, of like, why do I have to get in at 9 and leave at 5? It just doesn't make any sense. I used to, I'm a hard worker. I'd get in early some days at like 6, 7, and I'd leave at 4, and people would be looking at you as if to say, what are you doing leaving? But they turned up at 9 o'clock. It was just, loads of little things over time, and you just think, what is this? So I was the real sort of, I suppose, looked at the sort of, sat down and thought, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. We need to do something different. And obviously we settled on property. I saw that as something that obviously Ella was very knowledgeable in. And I could see, it just made sense to me in my head. I could see how we could make a plan and make it work over a period of time.
No, that makes perfect sense. And you know what, that's something that I really personally resonate with as well, because I came from the corporate world. I was in software sales, and like you say, you kind of often get to this point where you're looking at the path ahead of you, and you're looking at other people that are 10, 20, 30 years down the line, and just thinking, I don't want to end up where I'm headed. That's not the direction for me. And there's things in the corporate world that would frustrate me, exactly like you say, little things, and you think, why does it have to be like this? And not wanting someone else to control your time, your life, where you have to be, when you have to be, all of that kind of thing. And I think it's so interesting to hear that this was your perspective as well, because whether someone chooses the vehicle of property, in your case, my case was online business, there's plenty of other people in my communities who are, using trading as a route, consulting, coaching, like there's lots and lots of different vehicles, but there's so many similarities in that feeling of like wanting choice, wanting control, wanting to be, not have someone dictating how you run your life and who you can see and so on. So no, I definitely resonate with that, guys. With that in mind, can you share some of the biggest challenges that you might have faced or that you did face in those early stages of really taking property investing more seriously?
What, apart from working with your husband and living with...
apart from the obvious, yeah.
I think it was just the main things were learning to adapt to the changes. And obviously when you've got a full-time job or somebody else is paying your wage, then there's your accountability. You go to work every day and you do your hours and so forth. This time you're your own accountability, and it's like it's all on you.
Yeah.
And you've got to feed children, pay for the roof over your head, and make a business and make a life. So for me, the biggest challenge, that I'm not greatest with change, and when that happened, I was a bit petrified of it, thinking, but then that was the driver as well, because not only was I scared of the change of it, I was like, no matter what, we have to make this work. Because we were both in it together and so determined, then we throw, I mean, Royce is very, very determined in that he'll educate himself on everything, and your attention to detail, which is all the things I don't have. So like we're the best of the two of us make a whole one in terms of making it work, I think. So the challenge is having to put up with each other all the time for me. I'm sure you've got some bits to add.
I suppose it's just like we were trying to do a lot in a small amount of time. Like we were trying to replace my income, which was fairly good. And in all reality, I was at a stage where I could do it with my eyes shut and earn good money. So trying to do that and build up property business at the same time, as well as introducing children to the world and everything else like that, it's just a lot. And it does get to the point where you like, you are breaking yourself at times. You think, crikey, this is really, really tough. Like I look over our journey over the last since what is it, sort of 7 years, 6 to 7 years. And we've been through some, like we've been at stages where we're just like, we don't know what to do, like with property as well, in buying it, like all sorts can kind of go wrong. I remember like one of our transactions, we were going down to London for Ella's birthday, and we were supposed to complete, and through one thing and another, on that day, it wasn't going to happen. Basically, like the mortgage lender did a load of other stuff, and we were hoping to secure some money, and it didn't happen, so we weren't going to complete. So we were kind of just like in dire straits, and we had to basically raise the purchase price of a house to buy it, because we were exchanged on contracts, because a lot had gone wrong prior to it. So we were committed to the purchase, but we had no like mortgage, and you can't just get a mortgage overnight sort of thing. So I think we had to raise something like £120,000 in like 24 hours. And I remember just sitting on that train going down to London. We should have been enjoying Ella's birthday, and we were just like,
what are we gonna do?
Oh, it was just the worst feeling ever on earth. Like just horrible, wasn't it? Just like
I've got the vendor screaming, and I'm trying to calm him down on the phone as we're on a quiet train, and Royce is getting the picture of what's happening, and I'm like, we need cash instantly. But
it was just horrible. And you go for, that's probably the worst, but like there's loads, every single transaction really has its trials and its tribulations, which people don't see, and all the stuff afterwards that comes with it. There's like, it's not just a passive income type thing. As soon as you get to the next, it's like playing a computer game. You get to the next level and it just gets harder. Nobody told me about that.
Got it. I want to pick up on that, and also Ella, what you said about the sort of being the uncertainty, I suppose, and the fear of going into a period of change, and there's a lot of unknowns. And I think a lot of people watching this, if they're thinking of getting into property investing in some way, there's probably some level of fear there about this uncertain future that they're stepping into. And Royce, what you've just shared there, that nightmare situation, that could be something that might hold a lot of people back from starting. They think, oh my goodness, if that happened to me, I don't know what I'd do. How were you guys able to, first of all, move forwards into the uncertainty, and second of all, how did you specifically figure out that situation? What resources did you turn to help you overcome the challenge?
Well, there's a couple of answers, but it all stems back to when Royce decided that property was he dabbled and he'd come up with lots of ideas about how to get him into property over a period of time. And then this one day, he just came to me and said, I found a property mentor. I found this group, like a community that I want to be part of, and I think it'll take us to the next step in our property journey. And I'm thinking, oh man, I've just got used to, this is the path we're following. What idea has he had now? And he basically turned around to me and said, I'm doing it with or without you, but I'd rather it be with you. I'm like, oh, right, I'm just going to do it. Like I said to you before, with the whole change thing, I'm not a massive fan of, but I've learned that if you don't throw yourself in it and the things that make you feel uncomfortable, then what are you ever going to learn? You're never going to move forward, are you? So it was fine. I'll come and meet this guy. I'll come and listen to what they've got to say and how it works. And as much as I didn't want to go, I did it, and I am so happy that I did actually do it, because we wouldn't be here doing all these things, solving the problems, doing exciting things like developing ourselves more and more, without that one meeting, that 1 hour for that one day. And because of that, it's how we solve the problem with the property, because of the group that we've got behind us. But I'll stop talking and let you tell them about that one.
well, no, that was it really. We'd I'd sort of I didn't just come to that decision overnight that we need to go get I'd it word on my mind. I just eat podcasts and YouTube and anything that's going on property and all that sort of stuff. So I'd obviously been quietly listening to stuff, reading stuff, researching stuff for some time, and you kind of get to know that what you need to do to get to where you want to go. And one of the things that was absolutely obvious was education on it. So I knew we needed to do it. It was just a case of who we chose to do the education side of things. So that's where I'd kind of come at it from. So I'd sort of it had been manifested in my mind for some time, and then obviously did some shopping around and glad that Ella was on board, because I wanted to do it as both of us as well. That was the other thing, because I know Ella loves property and she loves the house side of things anyway, so I thought it'd be great if we can. So that was that, and obviously we joined a community of people, and we quickly built up respect within it. We were present within the sort of training days, the get-togethers, the gatherings. I think people had seen enough of us and heard enough of us to know that we were a reliable pair of hands. Although we were sat there thinking, God, how are we going to raise this much money? But in reality,
so this is you're talking about now the specific situation where you had to raise like 100 grand and the community supported you. I mean, even then we were newbies. It was kind of like we joined the community. We've been sort of taught, do this, do that, do the other, take one step at a time, and this is how you're going to sort of source below market value properties. You can buy them, etc. So we'd learned the process of that, which we hadn't learned before, going direct to vendor and all these other things, which we wouldn't ever have done because I'd heard about them. But until somebody holds your hand and goes, right, now do this, now do that, it makes it a little bit harder. So we had that hand holding experience and just followed the steps step by step, and we got ourselves into this situation where we secured a property that was a fantastic deal, and got the finance in place come to completion. But like I say, I think we'd done enough to get enough confidence from the group around us for people to be able to help us out with it. So luckily it was a call into the mentor to say, well, we're in trouble here.
We needed it by 4 o'clock that day.
What can we do?
Wow. So what I'm hearing here is if you're gonna get involved in property, it's a very good idea to have a community and a mentor and some people who have already walked the path around you.
Definitely, because it was just phone calls. Royce had made 5 phone calls 5 people that were suggested to us that would be finance investors, and we knew them personally anyway. We'd not, well, I say personally, we'd met them once or twice at like these training days, and then Royce called them. I had a chat to them, and I'd say in less than an hour, we'd raised more than the amount of money that we needed to. And in the end, one guy in particular that joined at the same time as us said, I'll just lend you the whole amount. I can have it transferred to you before 4 o'clock, because they need to complete, but they have like 10, 12, 2, 4 being the absolute cutoff. And the first amount had gone in at about 3 o'clock. I'm thinking, okay, half the money's there. We've just got half to go. And it just hit the bank account.
It was hilarious because we were walking around London and you can only spend so much, you can only transfer so much money at a time. And he obviously said, I'll give you 130. And then you suddenly like, brilliant, we've done it. Or you've not done it, because you can't just transfer 130.
No.
So he's obviously going out his way to try and help us and transfer it across in chunks. And then it doesn't come across straight away because people are thinking, what's going on here? There's a lot of money coming across. The banks then put some like things in place to go, oh, is this all legit? So he's sending it across, and then we've got to send it from our bank to a solicitor. So I remember literally walking around London, just like, we're like, money's come in, price gone out, bring the solicitor, have you got that? Yeah, literally transferring around. And like of that day, I think we just basically got the train down and walked around, just walking around. We couldn't do anything.
We needed
signal, and we needed to be able to transfer the money in and out. And
so it's like, happy birthday, Ella.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, we'll never forget this.
Wow.
And we were like, we're never getting ourselves in this situation again. Again, it's kind of like a learning experience.
Definitely.
And like we didn't know what we didn't know, and we won't let that happen again, sort of thing. Or we'll do everything we can. We've learned those things not to put it in. We can find prevention methods, and yes, we were part of a group and stuff like that, but we wouldn't have been raising the things because we were oblivious to it to say that this is happening, and somebody might have gone, oh wait a minute, do this or that. So that's how we kind of got over it, really. And that just from then we were like, right, it does what it says on the tin. It definitely works. All right, let's crack on and not have that again.
I suppose after you've solved that kind of challenge, then you've grown to the point where you can handle so much more. And then I suppose the normal deals that you're doing day to day, I guess, become child's play, right?
Yes, exactly. You've like taken the word.
Yeah. It was like nothing can be worse than that. Just the whole emotional feeling of it all, like you feel like you're letting the vendor down. You feel like everything. It's just awful. You can't fix it there and then. That's the horrible thing. It's just like it's just not an instant thing. But
it all worked out there. The moral of the story is just keep going, because you will succeed. It's
just amazing what you can achieve though when you put under that kind of like pressure, if that makes sense. The results you can get.
Definitely.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's like often that sort of situation, that kind of test, if we're going down any path, whether it's property, whether it's online business, whether it's trading, whether it's whatever, like there's going to be challenges. There's going to be challenges with everything. As soon as you go outside your comfort zone, there's going to be challenges. It's just part of growth. And I think embracing that as you guys did and actually going through the fire to then come out the other side, that's when you become able to achieve the result. So what would you say in terms of the result? Like, how is life different for you both now that you're on the other side and now that you've gone through these kind of challenges to become financially independent?
It's funny now because like we had a completion the other week and it was like it never even happened. Like when we were doing a completion, we'd be like celebrating, we'd be like, woo, like
champagne.
Like it was like, oh, are we completing on that one today? Yeah, we've done it. Yeah, okay, next one. It's like almost so like completely different. And I suppose we were talking even the other day where we've got opportunities coming up, and we had one that said, yeah, we'll sign up with you. So we signed all the paperwork, and they've turned around and said no. Like 3 years ago, we'd have been like, felt awful about it. It really would have definitely wound on me anyway. I'd have been like, that's really frustrating. But again, because we kind of know that, if we just carry on, we'll pick up something sooner or later. It was less stressful and less, it certainly bothered us less. We were less emotional with it and able to deal with it better, which means everybody's just generally not as grouchy and hated sort of thing. So I don't know.
No, I agree. It is. It's just second nature now. We know what to expect, know what's coming up. And it's fun because there's so many things. Before you'd rely on that, you'd always think there was just that one deal, but there's not. There's all sorts, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, whether we've got investors saying find me a property, or we do mentoring days and property coaching. Like there's a whole there's not just we buy houses and build our own portfolio. We've got lots of strings to it now that we would have learned, that we didn't know we could do as part of it until we're in the property group. So I think we've just got lots of interesting bits going on that are all very exciting.
Yeah, and I suppose you never would have got to that point unless you took the first step and you just went for it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Got it. What would you say then? Main fears that you hear from beginners. So someone they haven't yet done their first deal, or maybe they're on the verge. They're kind of in those early stages. What would you say are the main things that you hear that hold people back, that sabotage people, that cause people to quit and give up in the early stages? And what advice would you give to someone that's maybe experiencing some of those things?
I think a lot of it is what I've said before. I think because we've got two different personalities, and mine was the unknown and change. I was happy I thought I was happy doing what I was doing. So being paid by somebody else, knowing I got holiday pay, sick pay, all of that. But deep down, I knew I didn't like having a boss. I knew I liked the bookends with me. I like to be in control of it. And I think that people have the fears of the unknown and they don't think they can do it, but it's because they don't know. It's because they haven't researched it. It's because they haven't spoken to somebody who knows how to do it. And the people a lot of the time that are like that are probably a bit like what Royce used to be in a corporate company, and thought that it was the tradition to build their way up in that company, and eventually they'd become like the top man. And that's how it naturally works in your career, but it doesn't have to be that. But it's those people that will typically be, oh no, because I can earn more money doing this, and money's always going to come down to it. But I think you just have to speak to people, research property mentors, or speak to people in communities, and follow them, be coached by them, and you'll soon learn. Because I was in total disbelief about our particular property mentor. I was like, absolutely not, what you're saying won't work, this isn't what I know, it's not traditional. And how wrong was I? I opened my mind to it and thought, just go with it, go with the flow, be out of your comfort zone and do it. And it paid off. And it's true, educate yourself and listen sometimes. And it can work. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a huge part of it is like people's comfort zone. You get into a job and it's just easy for them. I mean, the amount of our friends that come to us and say, oh, I'd love to do what you're doing. And I'm like, well, you can, it's not hard. You've just got to go out and take the steps. But it's just amazing the people don't do it. All we did, it wasn't anything sort of science. Yeah, well, it is scientific, but it's not hard. It's just a process. It just works. But it's like people just don't believe it works, or I don't know what it is. They just really struggle just to go and do it. They want it and they say they want it, but they just, it's like just procrastination. I don't know. And I have the same conversation with these people year in, year out. I'm like, why haven't you, just go and do it? What's the worst that can happen? Speak to me, we'll help you. But they don't still do it, because even on those early sort of purchases, they're not our best, but they're all right. They're doing okay. So it's even just go out and do it. And I think you've got to make mistakes as well along the way, and just learn from them. And a lot of people are just not willing to go and put themselves out there and it not work, or have some uncertainty, or take a risk. I think it's just a lot of that. And they'll say it's just internal, I suppose. It's it within them. They won't say they're that sort of person, but that's the way they're acting in their lives. And that's what I see a lot of it, really. It's just as simple as taking action, really. A lot of people make excuses with property about not having the money, things like that. But again, there's enough, there is money out there, but I wouldn't have had that mindset 10 years ago as well. It's just,
we just know different.
Yeah, exactly. It's education, surrounding yourself with other people, all those type of things, that suddenly your belief system changes?
I think it's like we were saying right at the start. You invested, or you were investing in property in 2014, but as you said, you were saving up lump sums, then you'd invest that, and then you save up again. And I think a lot of people have the idea that that's what you need to do, and you need a load of cash to start in property. But then, as you say, in 2018, you get the right level of education, start learning more sophisticated strategies, so that you're able to do deals with no money down, and actually suddenly that begins to open up this whole new world. And I heard as well from what Ella, you were saying, that if somebody's maybe in that space where they don't believe it's possible, or that something, or that for whatever reason they can't create the result themselves, there's going to be that fear, there's going to be that uncertainty, there's going to be, the fear of stepping into the unknown. But then, Royce, as you pointed out, is literally, you've just got to bite the bullet and go, if this is important to me and I want this badly enough, you've just got to go for it. You've just got to be willing to do those deals that aren't your best deals, so you can learn and get better and better. So I think you guys are the perfect example of that, with your journey and what you've achieved. Any final words of wisdom for someone who's thinking that they want to start investing in property, and they're like, okay, I'm inspired, I'm ready? What final words of wisdom would you give someone?
Obviously, it's been throughout our conversation here, but education for me is prime to it. And that can come in a variety of different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean go out and necessarily pay for education straight away. Like I did, like years of learning just through podcasts and things like that. And I'd say, although I wasn't highly sophisticated in it, we had a system that worked, and we'd have got there. We'd have just got there a little bit, a bit slower than what we're getting there now, which still would have been a lot better than 99% of the population through a more traditional method of it. So I'd say certainly, you've got to educate yourself. You've got to get yourself in the right, in circles of other people, because property is a lonely game if you're doing it on your own as well, and it's hard to bounce off each other. Me and Ella are lucky that Ella's mentioned it a few times. We kind of work together well as a joint venture team, as well as husband and wife. Which helps. Don't get me wrong, we still have disagreements in the property world and outside of it. but like if we didn't work well as a team, you just want to work with someone else. So I think joint ventures are a brilliant thing. If you can team up with somebody else and go on the journey with them, I think it just makes it so much better, even if you just need to vent and shout off a little bit. But obviously, if you can find somebody with opposing sort of skills and sort of traits to you, I think that really helps as well. I think people massively underestimate the amount of selling that you still have to do in property. They think it's just save up money, buy a house, but there's a lot of influencing going on, a lot of selling going on, a lot of persuasion going on. So I think a lot of people who don't do as well, I think that within their team or within themselves probably lack a bit of that sales edge or the ability to build rapport with people, because it is a people built business, which again a lot of people forget. Like they just think it's buy a house and away you go. It's far from that. It's very much people stuff. But I don't know whether that answers the question or not. What about you? What do you think?
No, I'm just very much, I buzz off people, so it makes me want to do it more. So had you have just said to me, Ella, we're starting up on our own, go out and buy some houses, find me some below market value deals, or find some investors to buy from us, or whatever it might have been, I am more proactive if I have, like with the property group, with them, the more I hear how well they're doing, and I don't get envious and I don't get jealous. I just go, I want that. How did they get it? I'll talk to them and get advice from them. And it makes me have more of that go get attitude, and it drives me a lot. And then I remember why I get excited by property and everything that's involved in it. So I do think, like, when I know you have to pay for these things, but I think it's priceless for you to go and get that type of education, because I'm not a massive book reader. I'd listen to things and I'd go on Audible, but you put a book in front of me and call it an education book, I'd be like, where's a good film? The opposite. But if you put me in a room full of people to go and talk to, then I'm the opposite. I'm just like, right, what can I get out of all of you to teach me what I need to know?
No, I think you're definitely right about if you're partnered up with someone as well, and especially as you guys who've got complementary skill sets, that could be a massive benefit. But yeah, again, guys, I just want to thank you for sharing your experience today. This has been really, really insightful, really valuable, and I think for anyone watching to just get a bit of a sense of the journey that you've taken and the results that you've created and how that's impacted your life. Really appreciate you guys sharing. So if anyone's watching this and they do want to learn more or get involved with the company that Ella and Royce have been talking about, I'll pop a link either up there or just down below, and that'll just link to some resources to help you get started if you wanted to as well. So guys, thank you, appreciate you, have an awesome day, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Dan.
See ya.
Thanks guys. Bye.